Hello Guardians, it is Ebontis, and some of the hot fixes recently have been very small. One of them is literally like system optimize. Like the hot fix today for Thursday was really tiny, but I did want to cover a couple things in the hot fix, and then we will get to the TWAB. This is for September 15th as well. So the hot fix that happened on Tuesday the 13th, you had some updates to King's Fall where there were issues with just different encounters and different things happening. Pretty specific items. But they do actually seem to be better. Fixed issues where players could repeatedly die when revived during the Basilica or Oryx encounters while the encounter wipe happens. I've actually seen kind of an issue of that one. Fixing an issue where the overzealous triumph requirement was unclear and could not be completed. Fixing an issue where the selection of the rune during Crux section of King's Fall would prevent completion of the secret deep sight chess puzzle. Had issues with that one actually. So if you go through, hit the 3 runes while you go through. Sometimes there can be issues. Seems to be better. Fixing the issue where the King's Fall carry stat was not being incremented, so if you are Sherping people, that will actually count as well. And then certain buff and debuff icons are actually showing up. So pretty straightforward, just some King's Fall fixes. Armor. If you haven't heard this one, the Loreley Splendor Helm Titan Exotic has been adjusted to grant 1 times restoration instead of times 2. Times 2 is basically like the seasonal mod classy restoration. It's insanely powerful. It's still strong. It's just not damn near broken, especially for PvP, so it should probably be a little more balanced. Not quite as much of a crutch for some people, but it is hopefully going to be a bit more in line with kind of what they're going for. But that has been brought down to 1. Healing is still strong. I mean, unless you're just getting triple sniped in a Grandmaster, normal activities, you're not going to die. It's just going to not be able to heal through some insanity that it probably could before. They said fixed an issue where the BXR Battler didn't receive the Masterwork border. Woohoo. Fixed an issue where the Quicksilver Storm grenades could add permanent buffs to your character. So the actual Lightfall, like pre-order weapon, Quicksilver Storm, has been re-enabled. Other than that, the Storm Trance's damage was not increasing over time while attacking. That's the super. The longer you hold it on a target, it's supposed to get more. It wasn't doing that. That's a good thing. Another massive buff. You guys probably heard me talk about it in the video that I did recently. Fixed an issue where the specific melee abilities, notably Shiver Strike and Thunderclap, were not activating at close range. So both of these were having issues just trying to punch at close range, just even if you had it key bound to something different. That has been fixed. Fixing the issue where the Fist of Havoc could be activated during a Ballistic Slam. Basically made for a very, very long leap. Not sure what they were trying to fix there, but they did. And then some silver sinking issues. Basically it. Couple good changes. The Loreley Splendor Helm, it was coming. Kind of expected that. But Quicksilver Storm being re-enabled. The Thunderclap being usable with your, if you map it to it. Storm Trance's damage being fixed. Those are good things. And then issues in King's Fall. Now let's get to the TWAB. Alright. So, kind of a cool picture of one of the daughters there. This week at Bungie, we're riding high on the Eruption Love. Eruption, honestly, I had fun in the Iron Banner mode, so if you didn't get to check it out last time, it will be back later in the season, so definitely check it out. I had fun. I hope that mode actually does come back, is used in more playlists. It was a good time. Another week, another excuse to drop some truly not great jokes. While not every trial will have a ton of info, this one does have some key dates, a closer look at the Destiny 2 crossover. So let's take a look. Multiple facets of online game security. This is just something for everybody to be aware of. Before we jump right into what else we've got going on, we want to make sure we take a moment to share an insight on recent activity around account bans. So, Bungie product security. Our mission is to protect players from cheating and enable players to experience the game as its talented designers intended. We don't want to prevent cheaters from being able to ruin the experience of legitimate players, whether that be directly or in competitive PvP, or indirectly in activities like boosting or making new burner accounts and binging them into in-game content like trials. The success of Battleye has allowed us to focus on new data science, machine learning, and analysis tools. Some of the first detections went into limited development earlier this year, and we have moved some into full production with others coming later this year. After rebuilding our model, we carefully tracked and accounted for the changes introduced by each game release, analyzed for known bugs like impacts, and assessed sandbox changes. We did all of this to minimize the risk of false positives. Beyond these initial precautions, we set very generous thresholds that nobody would be banned for having cosmetic rays strike their computer and flip an errant bit. After all that, if there were any borderline cases, we used some signatures that indicated the presence of certain cheats on users' computer. This resulted in one of the largest ban waves in our history. It's a good thing. Some people whose accounts were banned have said they don't remember cheating. When we investigate these cases, we often found that they gave their account to someone else to play for them. We again remind everyone that you must protect your account and do not use account recovery services. No recovs. Saying that your fingers were not on the keyboard when cheating occurred will not be considered during an appeal. Yeah, don't do any account recoveries. And other than that, if you got banned, seems like it was for a reason, outside of hopefully any errant things. Iron Banter, a post-eruption look. Like many of you, I spent a lot, probably more, going head-to-head with fellow Guardians in that new added eruption mode that took over Iron Banner. For a quick first week wrap-up, we've got some of the Rituals team back once more to dive into the reactions of Eruption from some inside info and a change that went live midweek regarding skill-based matchmaking. Interesting. One more note before we dive in, the SBMM changes did not apply to Iron Banner, they only impacted the Control playlist. So Rituals, the celebration of PvP for everyone. One of our main goals with the changes to Iron Banner was to lower the barrier of entry and widen the funnel of players to participate in Iron Banner. Historically, expectedly, we usually see the most engagement on the first day of the event, followed by a significant drop-off in players until the weekend comes. With Eruption, we are seeing a consistent number of players across all days, and even an increase on the weekends. The number of hours played per player over subsequent day of the week continues to increase. Now, this is a bit more of a better comparison when it comes to the number of players playing PvP, because they're like, oh, on the Control playlist, the first week when the game was free, like everywhere, we had a higher playlist. In Iron Banner, that's a bit different because this is a little farther into the season. There was no like free pass or anything. So this is just like more players engaging in Eruption. And it's because honestly, the mode was fun. I really did enjoy it. If you didn't, I know it's not going to be for everybody, but I did have a lot of fun. I'm probably in the middle of the bell curve, so I'm probably the easy one to appease. We like to interpret this as general favorable feedback regarding the game mode, as well as the Iron Banner ritual. We're glad to see this is resonating with a large demographic of players, and we're hopeful that we're on the right track. Scoring issue. That said, we're aware of a bug where shutdown points were being awarded for each damaged participant. That was true. When you would shut down somebody on like a 5 streak, basically when they were primed, everyone would get awarded, and if you like shared damage on somebody, you could catch back up for like 15 points really quickly. So this is not intended and is causing larger swings for team scores than intended. We are actively investigating the issue and looking to get a fix for the second week. So theoretically, probably the only person who gets the kill would get the shutdown, not if like 3 people shared the kill and there's like a 15-point swing that happens. That shouldn't happen, and that sounds like it's something they're working on fixing. Control, matchmaking changes and quarter penalty. This ought to be interesting. Quarter penalty was quite the hot topic on Tuesday for a Control playlist. Matchmaking times and skill. On average, matchmaking times for Control have only increased about 10 to 15 seconds. We're glad to have not increased matchmaking times for the majority of players, but for players on either extreme of the skill curve, their matchmaking times have either doubled or more than doubled, which is bad. High and low skill players naturally have fewer opponents at their skill. As such, we adjusted our configuration so that matchmaking expands to a wider range of skills sooner, thereby finding a match sooner for those players. We don't expect this to affect the Control experience for most players in the middle of the pack, and we hope it broadens the available pool of Guardians at high and low. And again, that's fair. If you have a skill ranking from 1 to 20, if previously like the 20 was looking for 20 through 15, and maybe now it's looking for 20 through 10, then you just have more people to search from, still on the higher end, and the lowest people, like a 1, still not going to face a 20. That's okay in my opinion, personally. Latency. While we expect the above changes to reduce matchmaking times, we were also comfortable tuning the knobs to prioritize latency a bit more. That's good. We realized our initial numbers allowed for higher latency connections earlier than necessary. We made a change to restrict latency for longer before expanding the allowable latency threshold. This change sacrifices some matchmaking time for the sake of better quality matches. And again, 10 to 15 seconds for better latency, most people would probably do that. Overall effect, players matching in under a minute should see no change in the skill of player connection or quality. Players that take longer than a minute to match should see increased connection quality, but a slightly wider skill. That's a good thing. You should see a higher, band of skill. If you're on the low end, you will be facing low to now middle probably, but hopefully the games are a better connection, which is probably a fair trade, I would say, for most. You don't need to match a god tier person, but somebody middle, and if you're low, that's still going to be a bit more fair. Quitter penalty. We are aware there has been an increase in quit rates for certain lobbies, whether due to connection quality or skill of opponents match, particularly high-skilled players. While we hope that the above changes alleviate quitting issues, we would like to actively discourage quitting. It's going to be an interesting topic, I know that, as it can negatively impact the remaining players. As such, we have added Control to the list of activities that can trigger the Crucible suspension system. Oh man, this is not going to go over well. I can already read that it's not going to go over, just waiting for the PvP. And again, this is where the map waiting and issues, and people are tired of seeing the same map over and over and over and over. I get it. Trust me. And sometimes you just have to do other things. Note that suspension timers for Control are temporarily shared with competitive playlist Glory and Trials. We're actively working on separating the suspension timer for competitive versus Control. Yeah, so that's the issue, is like a lot of people online, and again, these are probably more of the PvP elites, so you can take this with whatever grain of salt you like, but the idea is Control is not meant to be like a competitive playlist. It's meant to be fun. They do have the skill-based matchmaking in there to hopefully alleviate some of the issues of really high versus really low players. But Control's not meant to be something that you actually sit down and take seriously. Like, if you play Control and you start up a match and then your dog in the other room does something crazy, you might get up and leave, and that shouldn't be the end of the world, as opposed to in Trials, you have kind of a set time, you know what's going on, you're planning to, like, engage for that amount of time. I don't know if I love this, like, a warning would be a good thing or something, I don't know, because, I mean, quitting does cause issues, especially if they're trying to build matches around reasonable skill and kind of balance everything accordingly. I get it. But again, how serious is the penalty? I guess we'll just have to see, but it's not going over well with some people, I can tell you that. So hopefully it doesn't happen as often. Hopefully it's not as big of a deal. But again, the other reason people are quitting is, some of the stuff they listed, because, people aren't happy with the maps that they're seeing, or, the skill or the connection. So if they can help with some of the issues, maybe that will help the cause. Maps are one of them, so let's see what they say about map selection. Outside of one map, we don't see any predictable difference in quit rate between maps. Probably because people are afraid to quit right now, but in general, yeah, I don't know. So while we will be making changes to map weighting soon, we don't see this as a major factor in quit rate. While we have always weighted new maps higher for a couple of seasons in interest of letting players see new content, we also started specializing playlists maps in Season 18, starting with Control. We used a number of factors in determining initial weightings: quit and mercy rates, player sentiment, internal surveys, and more. Be curious if you did some external surveys to go with those, but I guess we'll see in time. We will continue to periodically analyze and process, and as always, we welcome your feedback. In interest of transparency, we'd like to share the current map selections for Control. Increase weighting. Shocking. Disjunction and Cathedral of Dusk. These are the newer maps, so you'll see increased weighting. Full weighting: Fragment, Twilight, Gap, Rusted Lands, Distant Shore, Endless Vale, The Fortress, The Radiant Cliffs, Pacifica, Altar of Flame, Javelin, Widows, Vostok, Eternity. Reduced weighting: Bannerfall, Midtown, Exodus Blue, Wormhaven, and Burnout. Significantly reduced weighting: The Dead Cliffs. Removed: Anomaly, Cauldron, and Convergence. In the next patch, which goes live on September 15th, which is today, we are lowering the weighting of Disjunction and Cathedral from increased weighting to full weighting. So I'm guessing this is the highest, even though the wording is not correct, because full, if it's full, it's full. So that seems odd. But apparently Disjunction and Cathedral of Dusk will now be in the mix of all the rest of these. It's better, at least if you have, that many maps to pick from, and then down here you got 5 more that you'll see a little less often. But still, I mean, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 that you should see about even weighting on. Is it going to feel that way? Who knows? But yeah, you won't see these quite as frequently, just because I think people are getting really tired of Disjunction for Control, for example. It's not quite the same. Whether we want it or not, we've stepped into a war with Beans in the Blunderdome. So this is going to be talking about the Fall Guys collaboration, and we also had, and this is with Epic Games, we also had the collaboration with Fortnite going on as well. So anyway, Fall Guys and Destiny 2, a match made in heaven. Just one of the many ways that we're proving that the world of light and darkness doesn't always have to be focused on darkness. Fall Guys, let's see. Go ahead and peep some of the other cosmetic goodness. The wield Warlock, Titan, and Hunter costume, Spicy Ramen Celebration, Ghost Shell wearable that you'll be able to use. All right, now we get down to the Master Raid, which is that next week? Okay, so we've all been having fun slinging Oryx's sorry butt into the great unknown, right? Well, you all have been busy capturing that enticing Golgoroth's gaze. Our epic raid team has been working hard on upping the ante a bit. Anybody looking to fire team up for Master King's Fall, you better be, because Oryx is about to get Super Saiyan on September 20th for all Guardians. Even better, we're sweetening the pot with new challenges. Oh yeah, it's going down. You got a nice Golgoroth picture there. So Tuesday, September 20th, normal mode challenges. Rewards double loot for the encounter the challenge is active on. So if you do the challenge on normal, you will get double loot. So that's a good thing. Master. Encounters reward stat-focused armor. So again, it's the weak. Like if it's going to be a mobility stat-focused armor week, doesn't really help me as a Titan, but, you know, hunters can eat well. Challenges reward adept weapons. Again, I don't know if the adept weapons are going to have the enhanced perks. We will have to see if they've taken that feedback to heart. All encounters are set at power level 1600, power cap of your normal 1570, or powerful cap, plus 30. Like any masterpiece of in-game content, Master King's Fall will be hard, like really hard, but not impossible. So fire team up, make sure to communicate with your crew. Yeah. Honestly, if you do the challenge on normal mode and master isn't your thing, you're still going to get some solid rewards. You'll be missing out on adept weapons, but that's mostly it. The armor is going to be stat focused. So say the first week is intellect, for example. You know, some people are going to want to build like that. Some people won't. So you can focus into certain stats being high. But again, if the armor is not hitting at like 65 or 66 and you get like a 59 with high mobility, cool, but it's still a 59. So I don't always know if master is worth it. It's there for the challenge for some, but normal mode, do the challenge for each encounter and you're still going to get double loot. So that's a good thing, and that's probably what we're going to be doing. Player support, hotfix 6.05 will go on the 20th. That's going to probably do things for, you know, hard mode raid. Known issues. We are continuing investigating known issues. Reports of player unable to access Destiny 2 on PS4. That's not great. 120 Hz refresh rate option is missing on PS5 and Series X. Also not great. The Rift Lost Sector is missing triumphs and incorrectly list shield presence. Wonderful. The charged melee keybinding functions inconsistently with a Titan Thunderclap melee when in close range. Still, I mean, it felt fixed, but apparently it's still not perfect. The Hyperborean Pinion Exotic Sparrow can't be attained from collections. The Dawn Chorus Exotic Helmet doesn't appear in collections. Don't delete it. Don't delete Dawn Chorus if you have one, if you feel like you might need to pull it, but if you got a decent one, that's fine. The Expedition activity doesn't show any stats in the summary. Wonderful. Repeatable Star Chart bounties still being able to be purchased. Let's see, we've got Backstreets back. Looks like I loaded this maybe a little early, though the movies aren't showing. Go check out those. Also, the art, usually very well done. One more moment of your time for a friend. Hi everyone, my name is Drew, player support and community moderation lead, but some of you may know me as Duardo. Earlier this year, we lost a well-respected and longtime member of the community, Seraphim Crypto. Almost 9 months in, and the pain of loss remains for many of us who knew him. Trying to put into words the loss we felt has been a challenge, even now. So here's a link to an obituary I wrote back in January. They lost someone of the player support and community team. That is very sad. So go check that out. Go read the obituary. So that's terrible, unfortunately, for anybody to leave too soon. To honor his memory and be part of the game forever, several of us at Bungie, who are so incredibly awesome, were able to work with our designers to create a new community emblem, Seraphim's Gauntlets. This emblem represents his love of Destiny, Titan Gauntlets, and the number 37. While there are only 36 dots, one is left unlit in the center to represent the loss we feel for him. It's fair. So if you want the emblem, there is your code, XVXDKJCVM. Let's go ahead and apply that to your account, and that's probably a wrap. You know what that sound is, Guardians? The sound of another TWAB coming to a close. But seriously, on a more personal note, don't sleep on the Fall Guys crossover. That game has been a delight and one I regularly return to. I haven't played in a while. I did have fun. It's probably so changed at this point. It would be fresh for me as well. So maybe I'll check it out. But, you know, we're kind of in the point between seasons. But let me know in the comments below what you guys would like to see from me in upcoming content right now. Whether it's, I'm going to be gone for the first week of October, so I'm probably going to schedule up mostly Lost Sector guides, because I can't actually kind of have a schedule for those. Might do a dungeon guide or something in there as well. But if there's certain content you want to see from me, Arc 3.0 builds, exotic reviews, anything of that along the lines, let me know in the comments below. But if you enjoyed this one, drop a like below, leave a comment if you got questions, opinions, or just want to say hello. If you want to find me on Twitter or Twitch, it is Ebontis, but right here on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, hit the alert bell. If you're a member or a Patreon sub, thank you for the extra support. You guys are all fantastic, and I am going to breathe now. Have a good one. I'll see you soon.